So, welcome to another edition of the Influence Global podcast, and I'm delighted to be joined by my very special friend across the pond, and that is Qianna Smith Bruneteau. Is that right? Have I got that right?
Got that right, Gordon.
Welcome. Lovely to see you here today. And we've known each other for a little while now, and we've had a few conversations. And I thought it'd be really good to have you on the podcast because you've got so many opinions about content creators and making sure things are done correctly. And of course, you've got a great background in fashion as well. So, before we get sort of a deep dive, perhaps you'd be good enough to just tell us a little bit about what you're up to, what you're doing, and the American Influencer Council, which you were the founder of.
Yeah, so I am based in New York City and founder of the American Influencer Council. We are a 501c6 not-for-profit trade association and a first to market concept. We launched on Global Social Media Day in 2020 and can't believe we're headed into year two. It's been an exciting really almost an experiment in advocacy and mentorship. We are a Education First Association, and Patrick Janelle is our board of director chairman. And yeah, it's been a really awesome journey. But prior to the council, I held roles at Saks Fifth Avenue and the US Open, where I started the social media departments. And you can see some of the awards behind me. I've done a lot of cool influencer campaigns and caused a lot of disruption along the way, Gordon.
You a disruptor? Never, surely not. I love it. I love it. So, obviously, there's been huge changes in the content creator world, and indeed with sort of social media. And we were just talking earlier, weren't we, about some of the changes both in the UK and in America. What do you think? What are some of the big changes that you think are going to make a real difference to the content creator community globally, not just necessarily in the States?
I think that, as we start to have brands and the media and the public really looking at creators or influencers, or what I really like to call digital custom content professionals, really looking at these individuals as small businesses. And I
Mm,
think when you look at what is creative labor, and defining that globally. You know, you have the pandemic really changed the way we work, right? You have Fortune 500 companies who are very resistant of people working remote.
mm,
And what does productivity look like? And I would say, even in my roles, coming from Nordstrom and Saks and the US Open, I've always had, wherever there's an internet connection, my phone, I can get majority of my work done. But if you don't have management that understands, productivity, remote productivity, that can be difficult. And I think that the pandemic changed the concept of working for so many.
mm.
And now creators have always been remote. They're solopreneurs by default. And so I think that people are looking at creators or, custom content professionals as people who are able to create incredible campaigns and produce agency level quality work, in their homes. And so how do you define that workforce, right? And so it's an exciting time because it's changing the perceptions of people on social media who are able to galvanize a community and monetize from that community, from being just selfie takers, right? Or people who are getting gifts from brands, to really a whole group of people who are, advertisers
Well,
or
they're almost like I've often said this on the podcast. They're multidisciplined, aren't they? You know, they're not just about creating amazing communities, but they have, you know, they're often photographers, videographers, they're editors, they're location scouts. They have a unique insight of understanding social media stats and engagement rates and all. You know, this is the sort of stuff that you would have within a creative advertising agency, and you would have multiple people doing this. And for some of this is all being done in some cases by one person, and for a fraction of the price. So why would, and when you talk about leveling up and the same sort of agency quality content, why would you be spending, you know, ridiculous amounts of money when you could actually be using one or maybe a handful of content creators almost for the same amount of money?
and I think even beyond, what it costs to use a creator, I think it's also brands need advocates.
Mm,
And outside of, building an army of advocates, brands need faces that customers can identify with. And they need so many of these because, you had Black Lives Matter, you had Stop Asian Hate. There is at the top, at the C level, companies are talking about and really being pushed to be inclusive, not just in their products and services, but in their leadership. And so companies have to be representative of all people.
mm,
And you can do that through, contracting different types of content creators, because not only are they going to produce, campaign quality content, they also have a cultural point of view that your company can benefit from. They
mm,
have unique digital experiences because they're tapped into such a large community. They're on the pulse of something that a company just is not able to be tapped into, because you have your marketing team, your digital team, your email team, and they're just, most marketing departments are totally siloed. That a content creator is able to one, move very quickly, they're agile, they're mobile, but they also are listening to so many diverse perspectives of their community that they create with an inclusive point of view.
mm.
So I think that's, a leverage point for multimedia content creators, that a brand, has to bring that in, even if it's from a consultant level.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you were talking about diversity. You may have seen some of the differentials in the influencer pay gap when you've got people that are from BAME communities not being remunerated in the same way that others should, and this really makes my blood boil, honestly, to be honest, where brands are trying to almost get away from paying somebody because they seemingly can. What's your thoughts around those sort of differentials and how we can together globally try and create some more? I know it's difficult to create standardized pricing because there are so many variables, but things that really do match up so that you know, if somebody's running a campaign there's a whole manner of different content creators, that everybody is being paid the right price point.
I think it's really important that creators are look at other creators as colleagues. And that was a reason why, I wanted to start the AIC, because at the brand level, you're privy to information that creators, unless you're a mega creator, you might not have access to.
Mm,
Creators have to exchange what they're being paid for, because even someone who casts campaigns, you can have creators on a campaign and people are being paid different rates. And even if you take a step back and you think about corporate employment, you're going to have people at a company who are being paid different salaries. And
sure.
this is based on experience, just a number of things. When you came into a company, market fluctuations, education, so many variables, right? And so I think it's really important that creators are communicating. what are you getting for this rate? To be able to understand, what's happening in the market. Creators also have to empower themselves.
Mm.
What is a brand spending? This information is public, right,
Yeah,
Gordon?
yeah,
It's like, what are brands spending? Who are the top advertisers? There are so many lists, e-marketer, business intelligence, Stastica, so many companies. This is what they do is put this information out. At the AIC, we surface who are the biggest spenders in influencer marketing, who are these brands, and where are the allocations of dollars going? What are the brands? What are the social media platforms? What are their fiscal year? What are the revenues looks like? I share the quarterly fiscal reports for every social media platform for all the brands with our members. It's important to know where money's being distributed
for
and
sure.
where performance is happening. And so if creators are not looking at, how the market's moving, who's performing well, who's not, this all also impacts rates, because you could have been contracted last year by maybe, I don't know, Nike, and maybe they're having a terrible year and budgets might be pulled and you might not be getting asked or being paid the same rate. Understand why things are happening.
Mm.
And so it's super important that creators, professionals in general, kind of take the time to have visibility into this. So it's less to me about hardcore rates than understanding, looking totality of the global market, because one, the US could be doing well, but then how does that look like in the UK?
Of course.
What are the big brands spending for it? I would love to know that.
Yeah.
Because it's like for creators who are looking to also who have a creator consumer brand, maybe they should be looking into a UK market. What are global partners? You could maybe be a creator who greatly identifies with the UK market. You might have, parental heritage or something that you could like easily tap into. If a brand, I think of, what is it, Gymshark?
Gymshark.
Um,
Gymshark is a classic example of a brand that's been entirely created with content creators by a young 23-year-old in his bedroom. That business is worth way over $1 billion. It's incredible, but they knew who the advocates were trainers in gyms, and they knew that by embracing those individuals, and dare I say, good-looking ones. But it's all part of the brand aesthetic. And ASOS is another very big online brand that has literally used so much of its budget towards working with influencers. So I think what we are seeing now is a whole new growth of brands almost with influencer first, rather than, I think what happened some while ago is, well, let's use a bunch of influencers to amplify our brand message. Whereas I think now organizations are realizing, well, let's start with the influencers and then think about using their content on billboards, on bus shelters, which you wouldn't have thought of many years ago. It would have been just part of the brand amplification on social media, but now they've got such big resonance. And honestly, we're seeing new brands created, aren't we, with them? And fashion labels are now saying, I want to work with a content creator that will create their own line for them. So presumably this is happening, of course, in America, and I've seen examples of that. But do you think that's going to continue to grow?
For sure. And I think that creators are, going to continue to, find more ways to monetize
Mm.
outside, off the platforms. I think you have, it's been a very much experimental 2 years. The creator economy boom has produced so many startups. And I do think that, platforms like Substack and, creators understanding the power of email marketing and really getting deep and who is following you, who's this community that you've grown and built. Have you captured their email? Are you able to communicate to them when a Facebook goes down? Right. I think these are really eye-opening situations that all types of, just not content creators, but brands too. You start on these platforms and then you build communities, and you're not necessarily diligent about making sure that who these individuals are who are following you. And so I do think that it's been a wake-up call in so many capacities for people whose livelihood depends on their following and
Mm,
or their influence. And
yeah.
so I do think that creators are starting to look into commerce. How can they build their own commerce brands? What does that take? How, you had millions of people who started Patreon accounts but weren't able to do anything with that because they didn't necessarily yet have a following large enough to want to buy into their content. So then what are the benchmarks required to actually convert? So we talk to creators, who might have 50 to 200,000 followers, started a Patreon account and it went nowhere. And so I think, it's important to test and then to also to analyze. And so then it says to the marketplace, not every creator, from nano to mega can make some of these tools and services work. And so how can creators find incremental revenue if brand deals are not available? Because
Mm,
brands in the beginning of the pandemic did pull budget. And
indeed.
so there are so many ways you have so many ways. Creators are clever in the way that they try to find ways to market their services. But what defines service, Gordon? This is what I love about influencer marketing, is that you can sort of make things up and it is valuable. I
Yeah.
read a great
Yeah.
article in the New York Times about comfort creators, people who just don't want to watch intense TV shows like Homeland and or what are those, like Spartacus kind of shows, and they want just comfort. They want to just watch a creator cooking, or they just want to watch a creator, talking or reading a book or poetry. And this is a new niche of creators or gamers, people, watching gamers just play and turning on that and just finding comfort. And so I think that
Yeah.
this is where, if you are someone who's truly entrepreneurial, you can find a niche and be able to earn from that niche. And
Mm.
that's what's exciting. But we were just talking about regulation too.
So I know, yeah, and I think, but regulation I think is good because I think the industry has had a bit of a reputation as being a bit of the Wild West. And we were talking before about the UK with the Harms Bill, which is going through Parliament through scrutiny at the moment. And I'm an advocate of, I mean, not over regulation, but certainly giving individual creators and consumers and trying to find ways to get rid of trolls, because one shouldn't think that, oh, sometimes when people criticize content creators, oh well, they've got a great lifestyle, haven't they? All they have to do is pick up and they get paid for it, pick up a product and they get paid for it, and then they get all these gifts, they go on these wonderful holidays. What they don't realize is also the hate content that they will receive, the, dare I say, sexual motivated content, which can be very disturbing for some of them. And what we've got to do is we've got to eradicate this. So these individuals who, in many cases, work on their own, don't they, without necessarily management. And we've got to be seen to be helping and supporting them, not just in terms of regulation, but in terms of business support, advice, guidance, legal protection. I'm a great fan of hashtag ad and making sure that everybody's doing that on their posts. And I think as trade associations and governing bodies like yours, like the BCMA and others, that we all have a right to educate. We can't just leave it to the Advertising Standards Association or the American what's FRCA? What's it?
FTC,
Sorry,
Federal Trade Commission.
sorry. Yes, FTC. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, so what's your take on some of these regulations that are changing, and how do you think they're going to impact
Well,
worldwide?
I think even beyond regulation, we work with a lot of creators just starting. And at the basic level, I meet so many young people just out of college, and they don't even know how to set up an LLC or to get incorporated. And you say you're a creator, you just landed your first brand deal or your first partnership, and you got your first check. It's like, okay, you now need to pay taxes. Making sure financial capability is so important in our space.
Mm,
And a lot of young people can easily fall into debt as a solopreneur. There's so much to manage, and that's not necessarily taught at university. And if you don't have parents who are entrepreneurial, you might not have ever been exposed to all of the logistics to run an enterprise, even
mm,
a small enterprise.
mm.
And so I think at the basic level, it's just helping young people understand, like, you got that $10,000 brand deal, but how much taxes are you going to have to pay on that? When you're negotiating for yourself, what are all of the business expenses? I try to really empower people to think like, okay, $10,000, what's the cost for you to produce the content, to edit the content, to pay your taxes, all of the things to support your business, because you might not have a mentor to expose that to you. And then you might have spent all of that money. It might have cost you a couple of thousand to create. You might have needed to buy, an editing tool or whatever. You might have needed to go to a location, get a photographer, whatever. There is always incremental cost to content
Absolutely,
creation,
absolutely.
which a lot of people who are not content creators or creatives don't understand. You might be paying an Adobe fee, right? There's all you might have, your DocuSign annual, all of your minor business costs that still are costs to operate.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
just
I mean, you haven't mentioned insurance, of course, and that, of course,
for,
could be
of
making
course,
sure
the
that you've got
liability insurance.
liability insurance is probably one of the most important things because, clearly if they're saying something incorrect or provocative that actually becomes a viral campaign the wrong way, in some shape or form, that can be quite damaging.
Human Gordon, where do you go to get limited liability insurance? A lot of people don't even know where to start or how to even search the words for that.
Right.
And so it's taking 20,000 steps back to just help young people operate smart. And now you're operating smart. Let me now educate you on how to make sure that the content you're posting for this brand is now legal, transparent, and ethical.
Yeah.
So, it's like you already are a creative person. Now let's make sure you're operating correctly. Now there is this other thing called hashtag ad, hashtag sponsored, and truth in advertising.
Yeah.
And you meet someone 20 and you're there like, what?
I know.
It's too much.
Well, yeah,
And
I mean, the other problem, Kiana, is that well, XYZ hasn't had to do it, or I haven't seen them doing it. So often you find that they will follow what other people have done. And this is why education, of course, is so important, not just at
So
the top
important to our
level,
space.
because otherwise they're so driven by, well, why should I be doing it when this person isn't doing it and that person isn't doing it? Why do I have to put hashtag ad in, and why do I have to conform? And it's getting that message through that the professional content creators will be those that move up the triangle, won't they? The pyramid, if you will.
And it's also, it's overwhelming to take in so much information in a short period of time. People also have bills to pay. And so how we try to educate is that the more business acumen you have when you're presenting yourself to prospective clients or you're interacting with brands, they are going to see that you have knowledge and that you can also empower them with knowledge, and that will separate you from other creators who don't.
Right.
Right. And so the more professional you are, and the more that you present yourself in a way that other people in a business atmosphere are operating, that's a win for you.
Mm.
And so I think that is so important. And that's why we really encourage executive mentorship. Because I think if it's coming down from the brand level, creators want brand deals. They need to pay their bills.
Yeah,
So
yeah. A free dress doesn't pay the rent, does it?
it surely does not.
Oh dear, no, I love your enthusiasm and energy. It's great. I mean, just to finish with, then, I mean, what's your predictions? Give me a little few predictions for as we move into 2022. Sorry, we're going to be by the time this is out, it's going to be in 22. So at the early part of the year, what do you think we're going to see?
I definitely think you're going to see a lot more creators testing into NFTs. We are starting to see creators in the council launching NFT collections, which is very exciting. And I do think, from my point of view, NFTs are really important in terms of creative ownership and copyright. I do think that, more people are not talking about it from that standpoint. And I think education in the consumer space from this way of giving creators a different type of digital signature and ownership in their work is unprecedented and so exciting.
Mm.
And if more people understand what that means, I think you're going to have more people wanting to support artists in this way. I'm also really excited about the metaverse. I mean, I had my Oculus headset for like since day one. And so I'm excited for that rebrand. I'm excited for that new technology. I think that, brands have already started to develop products and services for people who are using headsets. I don't know, Gordon, if you have one, but if you wear it for 30 minutes, you come out and you're a little bit dizzy, or
Really?
you could be really excited and you're standing up and I've literally ran into a wall.
Oh my God, really?
And so, yeah, so I think companies who are going to be building spaces in homes and ways for people to use headsets safely, I think that's going to be really exciting.
Mm.
And,
I've seen Facebook have done this thing with what are the glasses, sunglasses, Ray-Ban. Have you used it? I saw one. I was actually somebody in a private members club was showing me, and I thought, oh, this is insane. Being able to record. He said he showed me a video. He recorded it from his glasses, and I was thinking, that's insane. That's really cool.
well, you have also Snapchat. I mean, they were really on the forefront of that technology too with their Snapchat lenses. So I think, yeah, the glasses for sure are going to be, I don't think anyone's gotten the glasses necessarily right, but the headsets, Gordon, are no joke.
Really?
I have, different experiences where I've 100% felt like it was either on I've helicopter concerts. And the first time you do it, you literally do not, you are there in that virtual world. And
Really?
so it's just getting better. And so I'm like, I'm ready. I'm already in the metaverse. I've been there for a while. Like Web3, I'm here for it.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Oh, I could talk to you for ages, actually. It's wonderful what you're doing. I know from listening to you and having conversations with you, you're passionate about supporting the content creator in what you're doing. How can people find out more about you if they want to get in contact with you?
Yeah, please visit AmericanInfluencerCouncil.com, and you can find us on social media on Instagram and under the same handle. And we're very active on Twitter at AIC_tweets. And you can find me personally on LinkedIn, Qianna Smith Bruneteau.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks again. And that's a wrap.
All right, girl. Well, you got to get a headset, Gordon. We have to make this happen.
Indeed, I must. Indeed, I must. That's it for another edition of Influence. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and give me your feedback, gordon@gordonglenister.com, or you can follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, where you can also ask me a question. And if you're able to give us a 5-star review, that would be amazing. If you want help in creating an influencer marketing strategy or want to join the Influencer Marketing Roundtable weekly event, just head over to gordonglenister.com. And if you want to find out more about the shows that we're on, head over to marketingpodcastnetwork.net. You might like to check out Jason Fall's Winfluence as well. That's a great show. Thanks as always to my podcast Neil Whiteside from Freedom One, and until next time, from me, Gordon Glenister, it's bye for now.